I want to chat today about focusing on what we can control. And this kind of goes out to people in the business because a lot of the times we try and focus our energy on things that we can't really control. I'll give you an example. A lot of times we'll talk to other agents and we'll talk about, sellers or buyers. And in one case last week, I was talking to an agent about, listing property, and they had a client that was kind of thinking about selling. They were willing to sell, they were somewhat motivated to sell, but they didn't need to sell. They don't have a mortgage on the property. They don't need to get rid of it. They can hang on to it. Even if they didn't rent it out, they can hang on to it. Yet they, were planning on moving. They would sell it if they got the price they wanted. So a lot of times, we're talking about, well, how can we persuade them to sell? And that's really not what our job is, right? Our job is not to convince someone to sell. We can't give them the motivation or the reason to sell. We can only demonstrate and show them what we can do when they do need to sell and they decide to sell. But what we can't control, and we get stuck in these scenarios where you have a prospect, someone is thinking of selling or buying, and you focus your energy on trying to convince them to maybe make a move, when that's really not what we should be doing. We should be focusing on finding another buyer or seller that's motivated and really needs to move, and still work with that client when they need us to and if they need us to, right? Still provide them the information they need so they can make an informed decision, and it makes their decision easier. And unless you have reason that would benefit them to sell, right? Is the market at a peak right now where, if you did sell, you'd actually be maybe make it out better than if you had waited, or vice versa. Like maybe it's not time for them to sell, and you can tell them wait a year and sell down the road when the market's better. So our job is to always guide them in the right direction. The lesson is to not focus on the things that you don't have control over. We don't have control over whether someone needs to sell or is motivated to sell. We have control over finding someone else that needs our services and our assistance to sell or buy. And that's what we should be focusing our energy on, is what we can control, not on what we can't control.